Aside.
So,
Yes.
I'm really excited about this particular game because we have a lot of iconic champions for particular players. I'm looking at the side of Astralis, where they have yet to give us a very decisive win, but there was one thing that came back last week for them, and that was Chrisberg stepping up, the Nordics champion, on the Jinx as well, stepping up big time. Now, the other one on our screens is FGG on that rel, because he had one of the best support performances, arguably, on that champion.
Nice idea there. Use the crash down to get over the wall into the back end of that jungle. Does force Carlson to store on the hook shot. There'll be nothing like a tactical sweep to try and control the wave a little better, but does avoid being ganked there. And yes, I'm glad you brought up FGG, because I remember casting some of this guy's first games in the competitive scene around the UK last year in the UK EL, and did just unreal things on the rel. It's the champion I have as synonymous with him. His angle for engages, his angle for backline access is just unmatched on that champion. And even if it's a little out of meta, I trust him to be a dangerous threat.
Now, here's the thing, right? If we want to talk drafts, if you will, and what they do. So I think right here, Astralis have a pretty decisive, not decisive, sorry. They have a pretty 1-3-1 composition that can turn into a team fight composition. You've got a bunch of backline access with the Ari jumping in, with the Camille locking in a target. You've got Taxa on his infamous Lee Sin as well. And you can play the 1-3-1s split if you want, but you can also try to play the fights and pill for your Jinx together with the Lulu. On the other hand, Dusty have a much more calculated front to back. They've got the 3 tanks up front, they've got the maids with the burst, and they've also got the hyper carry in the likes of Aphelios. So if we're looking at team fights, if we're looking at setup, for Dusty, it's much easier to execute that composition. And why I'm saying this is just because Astralis have not showed us signs of being able to coordinate their moves very well on the map. So when they're reliant on making these individual plays to make their team fights work, this is where my question marks come. And I think I'm going to leave the question mark there for when we see later on fights to come and how Astralis actually execute them.
Yeah, because I think that's fair on the other side. For Dusty, their last week was a 2-0 week versus Veneer and Bifrost, of all people. They did a great job last week, really showing up. In fact, they're going to try and make it a show up in the bot side. A flash forward from FGG, forced to flash out of Chrisberg. Vikings here with a ghost. He's got a rampage to secure one more, gets a flash out of Wendell. It's all summoners, it's first blood, and it's over to the bot lane. And FGG's Rel finds 2 with that.
Yet again, and you can see that this Astralis bot lane was actually scared. They're lacking combat summoners because Chrisberg is going for that cleanse to make sure he stays safe from the Fae coming in from the Hecarim, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble later on, Rel stun and all the CC that's coming through it as well. And they actually end up going down. All summoners blown for the side of Astralis. And honestly, first blood on Hecarim is also extremely scary. Now, here's the problem here. Chrisberg and Wendell have mismanaged their wave. Their wave is pushing, but the jungle is on the top side of the map, so he cannot cover for them to shove in that wave. Dusty had absolute control on the bot side of the map, so Viking got a very, very, very easy gank on an Astralis that was somewhere between a rock and a hard place. And again, these are the things that we're talking about when Astralis mismanage things on the map. You know your jungle is going to be towards the top side of the map. That means you cannot have your wave state at that point where you're like, I really have to shove this, I really have to crush underneath the tower, I might die for it. Well, you did die for it, but the consequence is that you also lose all of your summoners, so now you have to be double careful.
And this is after a guy who we said...
It is on the same
flash, Graviton with the binding eclipse. Viking is straight back here. Chrisberg about to die for the second time in 4.5 minutes. Such good, consistent pressure from Dusty here.
Am I watching? Is this deja vu? Because Taxa was at the exact same spot last time this happened. We mentioned how Astralis do not have summoners, so they cannot push past halfway through their lane because they're going to get instantly punished. What does happen? They get instantly punished. I think this is like the past ghost from Astralis still haunting them. Their bot lane hasn't been the strongest, and when it has been, it's usually been Chrisberg showing up in these fights and showing the caliber of player he is. It's rough, because we saw what happened when Haru played against Dan, and Haru got ahead on the Hecarim. It is so difficult to fight when the opponent gets ahead, when he gets so tanky that your team cannot necessarily deal with him.
No, and this is not a Hecarim that's going in by himself. He's got FGG's Rel that we have highlighted and will continue to highlight. Again, that is still a lot of that danger. The 4 horsemen they were joking about on the desk, it stands true. You got Aleph on a Poppy as well, who can follow in the heroic charge. This is such a big deal, and the continued focus towards the bot lane, towards the engage ops, towards FGG's Rel is paying dividends right now for Dusty. Taxa is finally back around this bot side and might be around to help support another gank.
Because it's at the same exact position. They've built up their wave, they're trying to crush it underneath enemy tower, but the problem again is that they don't know where enemy jungler is, and Viking is yet again down the bot lane. Taxa is there, but he's a little bit too far away, and there's still no summoners.
There's no way out. He gets crashed down on, and the Ferromancy will do its work. It is just like cutting through butter with a hot knife. They land the Sonic Wave into the engage, but they can't do it. Now the turnaround with the Ignite is here. FGG going in, but wait, it's Crest who's come roaming down to be able to trade this one back. Surely they've gone a little deep this time, and Astralis get 2 back.
All right. 3rd time's the charm, they say.
Literally.
3 kills for Viking and a charm from Crest to actually get 1 kill back for Astralis. Lovely push in his mid wave, started roaming towards the bottom of the map. Again, Astralis, yes, you have Taxa. He's doing the golems. You don't know where Viking is. You've done the same thing. You've built up the wave. You're trying to crush it underneath enemy tower, but yet again, you do not have the safety. You do not have the summoner spells, and Viking is yet again to punish that play. Yes, Crest comes down to get 1 kill, but in the process, this is a 3-0 pony roaming the map. He's about 1 whole level ahead of Taxa, and at this point, what we're saying, this is so hard when a Hecarim gets ahead, is because when you go straight towards that chem tank, it's so difficult in these mid-game fights when you don't have your entire mythic item, when you don't have penetration to go through his defenses. It's just so hard to take the Hecarim down.
And last week, we saw a lot of Dusty step up to back up Viking, who's been so critical to their earlier week wins. But this time, I think it is right. We turn our eyes back towards Viking, who is absolutely leading the charge.
You know what? I will agree to disagree, because I think this is bot lane kingdom.
True.
This is FGG and Venza being like, look, these guys don't have summoners, repeat gang. They're doing the same thing with the wave, repeat gang. They're doing the same thing, and Aleph
gets a knockout away from the Lee Sin, but Carlson still got him locked down to the Hextech ultimatum, and he murders the Poppy.
This is a roughie though, because it's a wave and a half crashed underneath Aleph's tower, and yes, Viking is going to soak even more experience and CS in his own, but Aleph is going to lose on that one. So really good stuff right there from Taxa, and honestly, we've been meaning to talk about Taxa, but we've had so much action happen in the first 8 minutes. We've got 6 kills already, that we've kind of neglected that, and honestly, I think I've been a little bit critical with Taxa because he's generally had a very quiet split. For somebody whose favorite champion is the Lee Sin, he likes to make these early game plays, playing the volleyball and whatnot. I think he has been going a little bit under the radar, but right here he seems to be picking up 3 kill participation.
Clutch ward hop there as well. The mechanics are down, but it's still going to be the recovery of that battle. The Herald, I apologize, but there's a good charm in, and Crest gets that kill. So it's at least a 1 for the Herald trade. Nice follow-up there from the Ahri, who's now 2-0. Much, I'm sure, to Nymera's pleasure.
Really nice rotation from Astralis as well. They're pushing the bot wave, and then they transition their Jinx to the mid lane, so she stays safe, whilst the rest, full man from Astralis, are trying to go towards the Herald. They do not manage to get the Herald, though, so even though they are showing up in the fights, and Crest does show up and ends up taking the kills, a lot of objectives are being lost on the way. You do take the Rift Herald, yes, you give one kill back, but this is not much of a problem, because once you start opening the lanes, it's going to be much harder for Astralis to walk in, since all of them are squishes. So I think it is very important for Dusty to start taking these objectives like Rift Herald, start taking the towers, and depriving Astralis of a vision, and then catching them off guard in their own jungle. Whilst in the bot side of the map, Venza was pushing wave after wave after wave on his own, and also managed to bank on 2 tower platings.
I do want to call this out as well briefly. The FGG was in that Herald fight at level 4, a long ways behind some of these other members. That's part of the price.
Is level 6.
Exactly, and that's partly because he's not been in lane. He's gone for some of these. He's had to back a couple times because he's taken damage going for the big plays, but it kind of hurts him there in terms of Rel isn't the tankiest champion in some ways, and got a little bit punished perhaps for the lack of experience that's the price of some of the plays he's been making.
Yeah, and I would like to say it is worth it at this point because Ahri is a champion that you can very easily stop in the fight because we have this type of team. You've got the Poppy, you can stop Ahri from coming in. You've got the Poppy, you can the Ahri out. Ahri dives in, you can insta-fear her with the Hecarim by ulting in. There's just so many safe zone abilities for Venza's Aphelios that I feel like, yeah, okay, give some kills to the Ahri, it's fine. We can deal with her later on, especially again, since you've got the Rift Herald, you can deprive Astralis of a bunch of the vision and then just cuts them on the transition when they try to go for these dragons, when they try to go for these objectives and just lock them down. And talking about locking people down, Chem Tank.
Yeah, it's in.
Already completed for Hecarim, and this is where we're like, okay, this becomes difficult because once you start fighting for these dragons, who's going to take the Hecarim down? There's a lost chapter on the Ahri who supposedly fed. There's like a bunch of junkyard boot sale on Carlsen.
It's a polymorph though, because Wendell's here, but Vikings coming around to do some damage, and it's a bit of skirmishing just around this dragon spawn because both teams look like they want to start it as Backland goes over the wall. And that was an attempt there from Crest to get on top of the Zoe. Can't quite make it happen. Neither team feel quite ready to start off the Dragon, but they are moving around.
Honestly, we've been saying that Astralis has really bad vision around objectives. Their vision for this one is absolutely fantastic. They've got 2 wards behind enemy lines. They've got the Scuttle Crab as well to know if the Dragon has been started. And even though Dusty are really looking forward and they're trying to get some sort of priority in the mid lane and the bot lane to try and turn it into that objective, they have so much vision from the set of Astralis that they can actually contest because Lee Sin...
Wow. They're just going in this deep. That was an attempt by Viking to go over the wall.
It's becoming a little bit desperate, right? Again, we talked about this. They're trying to go for that Dragon because all the lanes are pushing, but they cannot find an opening from the side of Astralis. And they're going to pop down the Rift Herald, take theirs to the tower that's going to be shared between 4 members right there, and possibly turn that, towards the Dragon. It's just so difficult because playmakers in the mid game, in the early to mid game, like Ahri, like Lee Sin, can really hurt you if you play wrong against them. And again, I think the vision from Astralis has been really strong to keep them in the game so far.
0-0-4 right now on Taxa. 100% kill participation has managed to turn around those early plays from Dusty in the bot side, where both of these AD carries had a pretty stellar first week as well, so a lot of attention has gone towards the likes of Venza over the last few times. He went 11-2-6 on the Aphelios last week, 13-4-6 on the Kate. Massive improvements from earlier on in the split where he was dying a huge amount, and this kind of continued bot focus from both teams has led to this kind of scuffle for vision. It's still Dusty that secured that first Dragon, despite maybe burning a couple ultimates in some failed attempts from Spix in the jungle. And they are, at least at this point, up a few hundred gold, even if it's still close.
Yeah, and I really liked also the over-aggression from Viking because he knows he's ahead. He had the Chemtech versus a bunch of like half items from the set of Astralis, so he knew he wasn't gonna go down that easily. Also having his summons available and his ultimate. So yeah, you're gonna try to get advantage of what you have at this point, and what he had was the Chemtank, and he tried to take advantage of that. But they took a bunch of turret platings again for Aphelios down the bot lane. He's already got his Gelfos. His Aphelios has been falling a little bit behind because FTG has been roaming so much on the map, so he's been punished when it comes to the CS department.
Sure.
But when it comes to neutral objectives, Dusty are on point. And when it comes to Venza losing because FTG is fighting for these neutral objectives, Dusty makes sure that they return the neutral objectives to Venza to feed him everything that he's missed so far.
Absolutely. My only question right now for Astralis is, yes, you've got some good options in your side lanes. Ahri plus Lee Sin, or Lee Sin plus Camille can definitely pick up someone in the side lane pretty well. But come to these 5v5s, I think I probably agree with what Goldborg was saying on the desk, that actually Hecarim, Rel, plus this Poppy have such an easier time of getting to Chrisberg and making his life absolute hell in this game. I need to see how well Astralis can coordinate around these objectives the later this game goes to keep their Jinx alive.
I'll raise you my own reverse card. They don't even have to dive Chrisberg, because if you look, Carlsen, Taxa, Cress, Wendell, they're all squishy. Whoever tries to dive in first and reach the backline, you just kill them. Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, a bunch of CC from Poppy, the W from Poppy, Fierce coming in, FTG with a bunch of CC in his kit as well, and the solo bowler from Carlsen coming in the top lane. Okay.
Well, that's a good way to potentially stop it. You start getting some this Camille to a point where Poppy can't stay alive.
M&S needs to step up. We already have one solo bolo.
One solo bolo down, M&S on that 2.5 a game, so a little ways to go. But I appreciate Elif for trying to step up, another man who has been playing, or rather not Elif, Carlsen rather, who has been a consistent member for Astralis, at least within the lane, and doing very well to start up this game.
And this time, we have another bot lane attempt. They're looking at this tower. It's going really low. It's past 40 minutes, which means it's much squishier, and they're pulling on the TP.
Here's the teleport. There's the Magnet Storm. It's on to Chrisberg, rooted in place with that attract and repel. Tower is gone. Chrisberg has flashed away the polymorph to keep Aleph back. That will now be the attempted turnaround, but that's not the best onslaught of shadows I've ever seen. Gonna have to pull away, and the heal was popped by Venza. Was not hit by the Super Mega Death Rocket. And Astralis...
He found Chrisberg!
Wait, where'd he go? Aleph just gets in on the back. I was looking at the other side of the map. And Aleph managed to pick up the kill. That is something at the end of it all. And Chrisberg falls for the 4th time this game. He is 100% of Dusty's kills right now.
That's not a good start to have, man. That's not a good start to have. Another time, Carlsen bullying on that Yodel up the top side of the map. Aleph is trying to go for his shield, but once an opponent champion steps on the shield gets destroyed, and then he flashes for the Cho'Gath R right there, which is actually his Q on a much shorter cooldown to finish the deal. And again, because they see that this top lane has been falling for the side of Dusty chooses to pull the trigger towards the bot side of the map. They bring in the Poppy, FTG dives forward, they take every single summoner again from Astralis' bot lane, and what we didn't see is while Dusty was trying to retreat because they were getting flanked from the other side, Chrisberg with no mana walks over a wall, and Aleph with a beautiful E locks him down. We take no prisoners.
None at all, and Jinx struggling a bit in this game. As we said, 100%.
We have a struggler, Captain.
Indeed. Fortunately, though, for Astralis, they've still got Crest at 2-0 on this Ahri. Got the Everfrost, got that needlessly large rod in a pretty strong position. I'm sure Nightmare will be upset it's not the Ludens, but the setup is nice to help slow people down, and I don't mind it in this comp at all.
Actually, I agree with you. I'm much more like the Everfrost right here, because I think somebody's going to have to play defense for the set of Astralis. Taxa, you're all alone there. Woof.
Managed to buffer his way out there, but now Carlsen going in, but it's still pretty deep. Does force Dusty back away, but there's no wave really to play with right now. There is a Herald up, but Astralis don't feel comfortable going for that right now.
All right, so the Dragon is also coming up really shortly. I can't see the timer yet, but it will pop up anytime soon, I'm pretty sure.
There we go, 25 seconds.
And we need to look around at the setup because Crest has his teleport available. It's past 40 minutes, so he can channel it wherever he wants. He's pushing the top of the map. Nobody's replying. Crest has been getting free CS and he's been getting free experience, and he's 1 level above Buckland right now. And that is a problem because, yes, he does have the Everfrost and he has a needless large rod. And why I'm mentioning the Everfrost here is because I think it's a very crucial item, especially who they're playing against. The Poppies, the FTG on the rail, the Hecarim diving in. Somebody needs to help Chrisberg's Jinx, because I don't think at this point the Lulu is going to be enough of a pill. Also, you need to make sure you keep people stunned and locked down in one place enough to be able to put down the damage, because they are so darn tanky.
Yeah, and Astralis decided against competing when Chrisberg had no flash, had no cleanse. It was always going to be dangerous. Anyway, instead, they take the opportunity to get some solo lane experience for Carlsen and Cress. Taxa is hunting around in this bush and could try and get on top of Backland. Good stopwatch, immune to the Hextech ultimatum, but can they escape? It's a kick into the wall, flash forward. Taxa secures the kill. Still doing exceptionally well this game on the Lee Sin, one of those iconic champions.
Yeah, and he has been everywhere. We raised the question mark about Taxa. What can he do? He's been a little quiet the entire split, even in the early game champions. He doesn't seem to have much impact. Well, here, he's been in almost every single kill for Astralis, 5 out of 6. He's initiating the plays, he's finding the flanks, he's finding the kicks, and he's finding the dives, and he's also playing towards the strong side of the map, because we've mentioned over and over again, well, Carlsen is left without many resources. It hasn't necessarily been his best games. Right here with the Camille, he's got a little bit of Taxa's attention. They punish the Poppy, and then Carlsen has managed to snowball that effect. It is going to be top side of the map for Astralis versus bot side of the map. Can you reach Venza in the backline? Is Carlsen going to be able to find these flanks to lock down Venza and kill him together with Crest and Taxa, or is that trio going to die first by getting locked down?
It's just the battle of the divers, right? And who can get to the right targets at the right time? It's Dusty. We're starting up the second Herald, and the gold is still pretty close. About 1,000 in the favor of Dusty, but that's not a huge amount at the 20-minute mark. Still very playable for both of these teams. And The right people for Astralis have got the damage right now to murder somebody, particularly in those side lanes. The Camille, the Ari, as we've said, doing very well. Hull Breaker complete for Carlson. That's one of those items that's becoming increasingly popular. And this Camille, very difficult for either of Dusty's side laners to deal with, right?
And this is what we said at the start, right? We said that if Astralis do wish to do so, they have the 1-3-1 composition that they can play. They can have the Ara in the side lane, they have the Camille on the side lane, and luckily for them, like you mentioned, they both have gotten ahead in their lanes. They both can lane versus the Poppy and the Zoe pretty easily and just push down a lane until somebody comes to stop them. Now, this is the perfect timing to do so because Dusty is pushing in the mid lane. The only problem that he is, we mentioned, Lulu is not gonna be enough to save you from a 4-man dive. So they have to instantly recall Cress, get him back into the mid lane, especially since the Herald has been spawned, and probably get Tax's attention too. So I really like what Dusty is doing here. They're like, cool, you want to split push us? We're going to put pressure on your Jinx. Because at the end of the day, it is going to be the Jinx versus the Aphelios. Which one of these two hypercarries is going to be able to kill each other's teams? Because when all is said and done, it always comes down to these two.
I'm also going to pull this out. I appreciate Cress here with the confidence. That's not a Shadow Flame second. That is a Death Cap that's coming in lightly for
That's
this
where your
Ari
damage
right
coming from, man. You don't need the Ludens.
He's got the Dark Seal in inventory as well. There's a Medjai's potentially available. That's what I like to see. High damage, Ari. Okay, so about a minute and a half until this next dragon. That would be Soul Point for Dusty. We've said that maybe not the easiest front to play.
Infernal as well.
Yep, that's some people who've been pretty scary with Infernal. So anybody who's played against a Zoe with that knows how dangerous it is. Question is, what do Astralis want to do with this time? Do they want to continue the pressure on the side lanes? Are they even going to be positioned to fight the 5v5, do you think?
So the thing here is, the problem that Astralis are facing right now is that, we mentioned that the first dragon, they had stellar vision. They had pink wards behind enemy lines, they had blue wards behind enemy lines, they had everything they needed for possible flank TPs. Right now, because you have two split pushes coming in on one side, Ari's gonna be on the other, great, they have teleports. Who's gonna go deep enough to put down the wards for the Ari to join, for the Camille to find the correct flank? Taxa can walk a little bit in, but that's as far as he can do, and the wards are getting cleared straight away, which means now that Carlson and Cress have to join the good old traditional way, which is through a lane.
And that's always pretty risky when you're Lulu's a support as well. She doesn't have the easiest time face checking, and for both of these mid laners, Ari and the Zoe, you both want to play around vision, right? You want to be throwing charms, bubbles from out of vision.
Very crucially, I think Carlson has found himself in a pretty good flank, and I don't expect him to be leaving that bush anytime soon before Dragon gets started. It's only going to be 20 seconds anyway. Astralis are going to look to push in that mid lane wave. I think they have spotted Carlson. Maybe they're looking for Viking or maybe Buckland because he's pushed a little bit further forward. If they can kill Viking here, there's no smite.
Throw the ghost down, so that is a Hecarim who's
You don't want to engage on a Hecarim, yeah.
No. And you know, it does at least get the ghost out of Viking, which could be potentially pretty big now that the Infernal Drake has spawned.
Oh, look at the ward. It's been pinged at the red buff. It's been pinged. Poppy could be TPing there, and she is.
It is, but the dragon has been started down to 2,000 HP. In goes Viking, gets 3-man fit. It's gorgeous. FGG pulls it off again. You just can't stop it. Drowsy goes Carlton. It is a sweet sleep of death that he finds. Venza finds a triple, and Dusty. What a glorious fight. 4 for none. They lose the Infernal, but who cares?
And when it's all said and done, baby, it's gonna be the Jinx versus the Aphelios. And the Aphelios has beautiful setup, so much CC in front of him, so many locked down targets for a large amount of time to be able to output all of that damage. And Venza comes out on top again. They are gonna lose the dragon, but they didn't care about the dragon to begin with. We mentioned that they have the strongest and easiest to execute front to back composition. Their carries are more fed. Their Aphelios is more fed than this Jinx. Therefore, he can output so much more damage. And honestly, props to Viking, props to FGG for a fantastic setup. And Dusty just do it again. Yeah. I mean, we mentioned that their front to back is beautiful. Viking locks in 3 members into a 4-man stun ultimate from FGG. Venza presses his R button, and it's just easy as that.
It was a thing of beauty. I said it before, I'll say it again. Who needs 4 horse for the apocalypse when 2 just fine? So much work to do, and you manage to pull the split pushes into the fight, and you get to win it.
here's the question, right? Because Dusty have always had the better team fight composition, they've managed to grab all of these dragons and start stacking them, which meant that Astralis had to be pulled into this fight to stop the Soul Point from going down. And yes, they've managed it, but they've also put themselves on a 5,000 gold deficit. Now, we've mentioned how this composition from Astralis is made out of more playmaking champions. The Ahri that has to land the skill shots, the Camille that has to find the correct target and the correct flank to delete someone. And that someone is either Buckland or Venzer. You don't have much choice. Now the problem here is, in this composition, Ahri has two ways she can work. One, you either work like the CC bot for your Jinx and you keep people at bay while putting down the damage. Two, you choose to dive the backline together with Carlsen and you either die trying or you kill the opponent carries.
And the problem is right now for Astralis that you might be able to kill Venza, maybe, but the problem is
so tanky.
Exactly, everyone else is still doing enough at this point, and bluntly, Chrisberg, this carry that Astralis have been so reliant on to do a lion's share of the damage, honestly. I think he's something like 70% of the kill participation for this squad. He's so much of their damage percentage, about 30.5%, as they're going to try and get a kill in the side lane, though, and that's a pretty big moment. Good moment for Crest and Taxa to shut down a bit of this Baron shove.
I think they shut down a big part of this Baron shove because Backland is all alone. He has no vision. Taxa with another great play, 6 out of 7 kill participation. But the most important thing is that Carlsen is unbothered in the top lane. And yes, if you have two pushing lanes for Dusty with Baron buffs available, then it becomes a problem. Carlsen has to back up his team. But if you kill one of these members, that means that your 4-man core cannot split through 2 lanes because then you can get picked up. But again, the Ahri and the Lee Sin that want to catch you and want to be making these playmaking style plays towards whoever is alone in the side lane. They pull this off on backland and instantly Dusty has to call off the push.
They do, and all the while Carlsen got a tower on the top side. So this kind of maybe slightly different from what we've seen from Astralis, a more split map approach still has some teeth to it right now for Astralis. And yes, Tax's Lee Sin that has been a little bit quiet this split, but so historically good for him. Still dangerous in this game. 2 items, 2-0-4. Again, the only kill he wasn't involved with was Carlsen's solo kill.
It's just so difficult to play though because everyone is so slippery. You definitely don't want to be engaged on a heck rim. You can't get onto Poppy because she has W, and whoever is within Poppy's range, you can stop Lee Sin from jumping onto. Buckland has both of his summoners, he also has his ultimate. FTG you definitely don't want to be engaging on because you'll get stunned in place. And then Venza is literally going to be playing from his fountain because everyone is in front of him. So it makes Taxa's job that much more difficult. And everyone else is at least on the top side of the map for Astralis.
And you're going to be forced into another 5v5 potentially here in 30 seconds because it's Infernal Drake.
Hear me out.
What do you do to convert these things?
You give the soul away if you're Astralis and you're waiting for 3 items on your Jinx. I think if anything is going to save you at this point is 3 items on Jinx and maybe an hourglass on your Ahri so she can survive a little bit longer in these fights and provide more CC and damage. You also have the death cap. I don't think if you're Astralis, you walk into the bot side map because it's just so point. Give them that. The Baron buff has also run out. Give them that soul point. Do not fight it right now. Wait for 3 items on your Jinx. Try again.
You're half an item away. Maybe I tend to agree with you. I think you can wait 5 minutes for that item breakpoint to be through. Chrisberg has struggled in this game, but the moment you hit 3 items, all past sins can be forgiven because your damage is online at that point. Dragon is started, Crest is around though, and so is Carlsen on the flat. They can still think about doing this, but Tax has already been stunned. Dragon goes down, but can Astralis find a way to pincer? Venza flashes, Carlsen gets in on top of him, but he's hammered out by Poppy. Keeper's Verdict does its job. Crest roots Viking in place, but now they have to go away, and that is no Ahri available. The fight is here, the charge comes through. It's a stopwatch, but it will not be enough for Carlsen, maybe, until he goes away. That's Crest dead on the side. It's going to be another 4 for none, and Astralis, you did not have to fight it. Tax is going to try and get the mid lane waves. He knows how devastating this would be, and it's a clean ace for Dusty. Side lanes, they struggle, but the fights have been clean.
Oh my god, again, I think Astralis just overstepped the boundaries right there. They also split up. They tried to pull the assassination technique right there with Carlsen on the Camille and Ahri, Crest on Ahri, but it just didn't work. Dusty just have the better teamfight composition. Astralis did not yet have the item who said give this up and try for soul, and it just didn't work. Astralis wanted to go for it, and now they will most likely lose the game for that.
And you called it. Look in the inventory for Chrisberg. 3 items now, but it's too late. It's too little. It's another kill to Venza. It's 100% kill participation for the rookie, for FGG on his Rel, and the Horsemen of the Apocalypse do it with